Okay, we'll come
You'll want,
in
you'll want to turn on the video.
There we go. Thank you, Dan.
So the first order of business is we should accept the minutes of the last meeting as read. Entertain a motion to that effect.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Second item on the agenda is,
Review and approve invoices.
yes,
We do have multiple invoices. Gentlemen, Stabilization Trust Fund. We have two right there.
that is.
March
27th.
28th.
28th.
Two from the school, that's the top sheets, and those are the actual invoices. Seems like there's a lot more than two, but I combined them so that, so that's. an invoice.
Do I have to, we have to approve each?
I would,
each one?
yep.
And this also?
Mhm.
Okay.
Do we have the actual invoice for this?
Is it, no comment, can I see that one?
We have a cover letter and sort of the.
Speed Pro, it should be there, it might be in the batch that you had, I think. Is that the revitalization?
Here's an invoice.
There is an invoice there. Yeah.
So are there two different ones for 200? Because that was 200 and this says 200.
So this is Speed Pro.
Right. And this is Speed Pro also.
Same idea with this one. Is there an invoice behind this? Or this is sort of like,
So is that the school? Dan?
yeah, the school.
Okay, so the school one was kind of a little, so these are the two
These
invoices,
are
that's
two
the
invoices.
top sheet.
That was the top sheet.
Okay.
And we signed them all. I signed them all.
Okay. Can I see the?
It's fascinating. They get a world news database.
I'm going to have to double check on the trust fund one. That one was just given to me right before I came down here, so I'll have to look into that one a little further. The library, yep, so that's one right there.
elections?
That one, nope, we did that one. That's the school. I'm just gonna have you, this is the Speak Pro actual invoice. I just have to sign that one as well too, to put us back on along with this. I think there were two different options. in that one.
So is there just one $200?
Yeah, I think this is a duplicate. One's dated 3/31, and then one was just given to me before I came down here. That's 4/7, so certainly like to work towards that, yes. A lot of paper. That goes along with, that's what Diane just signed as well. So you have signed that one already, Hayden?
So
So
we should
that's-
sign both places?
Yep.
Okay. It's exciting, huh?
It's the end of the Red Sox. And as soon as Dan is finished, I'm gonna have him give you a synopsis of our meeting with
Hmm.
the select board. And what it means for the future. So Dan, could you do that? Could you give us a synopsis of the select board meeting?
It started off with representatives of the League of Women Voters, sort of presenting their research, kind of specifically arriving at the topic of this public. It was a public hearing, so it was a chance for people to come and speak, and not necessarily for the select board to ask a lot of questions. And they, they made their case, and I think I got a sense that a lot of people in the room, including me, agree with most of their recommendations, except for the actual recommendation to make some of these positions, including the commissioner of the trust fund, is not elected.
What other recommendations did they make, at least? Like, were they-
Mostly their recommendations are in the name of kind of transparency and access to public office. So, instead of having
More people to.
encouraging more people to run, having some sort of a dashboard showing who's actually running, as opposed to relying on a piece of cardboard in the town clerk's office, or having an outside organization like the League of Women Voters, having to rely on something like that, like the town should do these things. But then, multiple speakers, starting with me and Joe, made the case for why various positions should remain elected. Thought that the gentleman from the Board of Assessors, is that correct, was very eloquent, and he made some additional points that weren't exactly applicable to us that I also thought were good. He talked about, one of the concerns is sort of specialization and knowledge, and that what we do requires some degree of specialized knowledge. He said on his board, they actually are trained. Once they become elected, there's training. So he thought that it was, in that sense, if you were willing to volunteer for it, that training was sufficient. Someone spoke from the finance committee, Josh Levy, who I understand is also running for the select board.
Yes.
And he spoke pretty eloquently, more in terms of kind of openness and democracy, and how a recurring theme was there's really no good reason to move it away. And it only just feels like a power grab, and that if what we're seeing is that people don't run for these positions, let's work on the root cause, which is visibility and making it easier to run, and what have you. So it was, when you have a hearing for something like this, you kind of expect most of the people to show up to be opposed to whatever is being heard, and that was the case. But I think it was a good hearing.
Yeah,
And there was one fellow there who was very adamant about, you are taking away democracy from the town.
He went a little
He
overboard.
went a little overboard, but his point was well taken.
Yeah.
was he on
He
any
made
of
his
those
point.
boards involved? Was he involved in any of those boards?
No. He seemed a little bit like he had an axe to grind, and but overall, I thought it went well. I think Joe and I's points were well received by the board. So I saw nodding heads.
Yeah, the following, but there is more to come.
The next step would be at a select board meeting that they will actually discuss the issue. This was truly just a hearing. They didn't really ask many questions.
And they said it wasn't a point for them to ask questions. That was
One gentleman asked them a few questions, which
And
Mary
this-
Ann Cooley did her best to address, but they really didn't ask questions. They just listened.
Okay.
So we'll see it the next time that we have to visit. Next month, we are going to have our investment manager come. And I want to say this because I want you to look for it and think about it. Because I'm going to say something sort of like strange, but different. I think our particular manager is a very good bear market manager.
Mhm.
And I think that, and I hate to use the term bear market because we're not supposed to be market timers, but we are in a point in time where the market is being distressed a bit. If in fact they come and do a decent job, that is to say, if they show that they have in fact outperformed at least in the past year. And then I'm gonna look for I'm gonna look to continue them until the market settles down, if you will.
When you say continue them, you mean postpone
Precisely,
the request for information
yes.
process.
And I think that makes some sense, but I thought if we could talk about it before they showed up. it might be better. Do you have any thoughts on that, Hayden, on Dan?
I mean, I think it's maybe a little intellectually inconsistent. Like,
I know.
you either are interested in kicking the tires and seeing other managers or not. And I think you move forward with that process, and if you think that there's so much distress and that they're sort of an exceptional manager for that type of market, but you do choose to pick another manager, then I would entertain, okay, well, maybe right now isn't the moment to make the switch. Let's wait until some objective measure of volatility comes down, and then maybe we can make the switch, just so we don't shoot ourselves in the foot. I personally like Rockland, so I'm not chomping at the bit to see other managers, but I think that would be how.
I'm very neutral towards, to be quite frank with you, except that I do know that their process tends to be very protective in times of volatility.
But I agree with you, that's definitely something that we should look for and expect when we meet them.
Yeah.
If they haven't done that, then that would be a change.
I pretty much agree with Dan. I think Rockland does a pretty good job. The efforts we've made to find other managers have not shown to be any better elsewhere. And so I'd be comfortable continuing with them. It does take us a while it seems, to get through this RFI and interviews and all that. So we may want to just continue forward. We could always table it, as Dan, I think, alluded to, until we feel more comfortable about it. And honestly, by the time we get to the point of pulling the trigger, the markets may calm down in some sense.
And the other thing is, how are we going to approach them in terms of asking them why they did not respond to the question, the RFP?
I think we asked them point blank, and they're gonna either have one of two answers. One is, we didn't see it, or two is, we quit. And I suspect it's the first. I
Right.
strongly suspect it's the first.
I don't think they saw it, yeah.
Okay.
It's a little weird.
We don't need to dance around it. I mean,
Yeah,
All right, I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, that's all.
If I could just add something in there, I'd like being the newest person to the group. From what I can tell, they weren't aware of anything previously. I certainly haven't mentioned anything, but it's not anything that has come up in conversation that whenever I've been talking to them. As far as the relationship manager, that's who I've been dealing with. Her name is Barbara. She's been very helpful. She's been very, whatever she can do to help. She's, taken me through some things already. They also reconcile investments from Invesco and Wells Fargo as well too, as part of their services. So I'm not sure that that's something anybody else would offer going forward as well too. So it's just worth keeping that in the back of our mind.
what's
as
that
well,
about
too.
Invesco and Wells Fargo? Is that unrelated to the trust funds?
No, it's everything that's in there as well too. Yeah,
Wait,
Well, the Treasury Department, you also have some funds that we don't have, right?
right.
is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you have funds that are treasury funds? And what is it that Rockland does related to that?
They just bring it all together as a quarterly report,
Okay.
basically. So they request the information so that they can present an overall.
and this is the same team, Barbara and her team.
Yes.
But they don't manage that money?
No.
Or do they manage any money outside of the trust fund?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But yeah, they've been more than helpful for someone that's just been
Just
newly introduced to the group.
Right. Just thinking about the news of the last few weeks, I believe you guys can confirm that all of their cash is held in the brokerage account.
Oh,
Not in
yes.
any kind of a bank or what have you, right? Like they have a banking side of their business, they have a custodial side of their business. This is on the custodial side.
Yeah, and do they custody it themselves or do they leave it at Schwab? We should ask that question.
I was gonna say, we can ask them those kind of things whenever.
Because Schwab only has a $250,000 cash insurance.
Yes, that's right. Someone have the statement, I forgot to bring it.
I do not.
I don't have it.
I can log in if you give me a minute. Do we have a date for them? Or
Yes, we do. I was just about to go to that. The date for them is Thursday, April 27th at 4 p.m. I might add that the election is April 11th. Now, the reason why I mentioned the election, Dan, is remember that when you come in for that meeting, make sure you have
I need to go sometime between the election and the next meeting,
you have to go swear yourself
assuming at least one person votes for me. I'll need to go to the town clerk's window.
and swear yourself in. So you don't have to vote when you come back. Okay. With that, any other comments anyone wants to make?
Have we had an update from the select board on when they might be needing to further consider this proposal?
I have not heard
No.
anything.
Okay, I'm sure Dave will give us a heads.
Yes, yes, I'm sorry. You had no problem with the annual report? Hayden?
Yeah, it's resolved, yeah. Somehow it went to Diane, I don't know why I didn't get to the next place. Did you guys get anything from Dave Davison? I thought he was gonna send us, based on last minutes, that he was gonna send us
Some
something to
questions.
review for the RFI. I don't,
You don't recall getting it?
I think we did get it, and I
Yeah.
sort of ignored it.
Well, I think because we were meeting with them, we had talked initially about meeting with them at this one, and then that was put off until April. So I think until after the next meeting, we would then want to review it if you wanted to move forward
Right,
with the RFI.
He sent us. He sent us something on February 16th. He says, I have attached the relevant sections of the RFP for your review. And then
Okay. Must have put it aside being in Florida and all. Okay,
okay.
so have you guys sent edits or no?
No.
So are we gonna wait on that or until the next meeting?
Yes,
Is that the plan?
okay,
Because initially we had thought that we had requested them to attend this meeting. They weren't able to make it.
Right,
So then I asked them to come to the April meeting. So I feel until such times that we know if we want to move forward with the RFI, that the edits is kind of a purposeless task.
that's fine. Okay,
all right, so now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Uh,
Aye. Ayes have it. Nice.